Hi, I'm Patricia and welcome to my creative space. Today we're going to work on a coral jewelry set, bracelet, necklace, and earrings. And I got this tutorial from Sculpey a few years back. It's no longer on their website, and so I thought I would try to recreate it and do a tutorial on it for you. And I hope you like it. Here, my underlying color is Sculpey Souffle Latte. So that's what we're starting out with. I have it on a 7-3, I do believe. So right now I'm just trimming it down to the bracelet cuff here. Just going around the edges and winding everything up. And I am using my TinyMighty blade by tinypandora.com. Now I'm just going to take and I'm going to pinch the edges over the cuff. So all I'm going to do on each side is pinch the edge down over the cuff. Next color I am using is Pumpkin Souffle, and I also have it rolled out onto a setting 3. Just wrapping it around, cutting off my excess, and I will do pretty much the same thing with this one. I will cut around that edge and then start pinching the sides to get it formed around the cuff. You're going to cut off the first color that you pinched over the edge. Don't worry about that, that's fine, because we'll be pinching around that edge again. Alright, and now just like the first color, we're going to pinch that edge over the cuff, making sure that we cover up that other color. Just getting it over the edge. Alright, now I'm going to take the blade and I'm going to do a cut on the inside of the cuff, making sure I get any extra clay off of there that I don't want inside the cuff. So just take my blade following along that line. See, it's not too much, just a little, but I want that gone. For my third layer, I am using Crafter's Collection from Hobby Lobby. It's the Advanced, and the color is Sangria. Again, roll that on a setting 3. Wrapped it around the bracelet, and I'm folding it over, just like I did on the other colors. And after I get it all folded over, I'm going to cut off the excess from the inside of the cup, just like I did before. Okay, my fourth and final color, again, Crafter's Collection, Advanced, and the color is Crimson. And again, that's rolled out on a setting 3, and I forgot to hit record, and I've already started on it, but I did it, the colors and everything, pushed it in the same way, cut around that inside edge. And I'd already started, so I'll show you here how I've done it. I've got my stylus here with the largest ball on it, using it. Once in a while I flip it over and I use the really small end. But you just kind of get in there and swirl it around, kind of push it around. You want to try to bring out that underneath color without going too deep, which I tend to do. So if you do it, no big deal. If you watch further on, I show how to fix it if you go too deep. I believe I did that on the pendant. So when the pendant comes up, it will show you how to fix that problem. But this is a long process. It takes quite a bit of time. It's very time consuming, but it's well worth it in the end. So don't worry too much about it. Just take your time and go with the flow. Just wanted to let you know that it is very time consuming. That is why I have sped the video up, because it is a long process. And you have to keep going back and refining your holes as you go along. As you're doing it, it will get squished. And unless you hold it always from the inside, keeping pressure on it to keep it up, as I'm doing here, you're going to keep squishing it. So I just thought I'd let you know that. Here I've slowed down for you so you can see what's going on. My clay has pushed over the edge a lot. So I'm just going to take and cut that off. No big loss. And then I will continue to push that down and continue making my holes. And I've kept it slow for you for a little bit here so you can actually see what's going on if you're having a hard time on the fast forward. I want you to be able to actually get the technique here. So I've slowed down for you. Alright, here I've slowed down again so you can see how I'm doing the ending of the bracelet. I wanted you to see me finishing it off really well, adding the last few holes and then refining some other squished holes that have gotten kind of mushed on the way of making it. So that's what I'll be doing here. Now the clay has kind of come up off the metal cuff, and so what I'm doing is gently trying to push it back down onto the cuff mold very carefully, trying not to squish everything. So whatever gets mushed, I'll go back through and recheck my holes to make sure that they're not too squished. What I will tell you, because I don't think I was on camera when I did it, I took the insides of the bracelet very carefully and kind of pried it open a bit. If not, you will never get this on your wrist, even on the thinnest spot, without breaking it. So I pulled it apart to where there was a pretty good opening there. I just wanted to let you know that's what I did. So that's why it looks a lot more open after it came out of the oven, because that's what I did to it before I put it in the oven. And now I'm putting on the mica powder on top. You can use any color you like. I am using this red to copper Chameleon color. And it comes out a lot better on black clay. The Chameleon does. But it's pretty. I tried a speck of blue. I didn't like it. But you can use whatever color you like and whatever you have. All I'm doing is just highlighting the tops here. You don't want to go all the way down in. You just want to kind of highlight the edges. Alright, and here I've got all my colors rolled out on a sitting 3. And I'm going to stack them together here, just like I did the bracelet, in order. And I'm going to make my pendant and earrings out of this. I know right now it don't look like I'm going to get that much, but I'm going to roll it out to thin it out. Kind of like you do with Mukunigane. I want to make it pretty thin, but not too thin. But this is way too thick. So now I've got it about as thin as I want it, and I'm going to cut my circles out. I'm using my Sculpey circle cutters today, and remember not to go too thin on that, because you want to make sure you get all the colors to come out. So I'm doing the big one for the pendant. And I'm doing a small one for the earrings. Get 2 of those. And don't squish that up yet, because you want to be able to use it for the back. So just set it to the side. Take my big one and put it on the hollow bead maker. And I will put my little ones on the same way. I'm just going around making sure it's good and stuck. Now instead of putting my little one on the smallest, I'm putting it on the second smallest. Because that is going to grow a bit. As you're making the holes, it's going to expand. And now we're ready to start making holes. And I'm going to start in the center and work my way out. Okay, and here's the part where I messed up. I went too deep. See? I'm just going to take that bottom layer that I used, roll it up, put it in, tap it down with the ball tool. That's all there is to it. here what I'm doing is taking the blade and I'm just kind of pushing up on the spots that are dipped down, trying to make it as even as possible so that it don't look too wonky. Here's where it starts to get tough. It wants to pull away from the hollow bead maker. So I just kind of press it to kind of try to stick it in there pretty good, back onto it. It works for a little bit, then it starts pulling away again. So you just kind of have to fidget with it. It's a little bit of a pain, but it comes out worth it in the end. So just do what you got to do to keep it stuck on there. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is some last minute touch-up work here. Trying to make sure that it's all smooth and round looking. Anywhere that I need to push in, straighten it back up, make it look nice around the edge. Now I'm going to start on the earring, same thing. I'm going to start in the middle and work my way out. It's a little tougher on the earring because it's such a small surface. You can see I've poked through again, so I'm going to take my color, make a little ball, pick it up, and just put it in that hole. Sorry I'm out of frame here. But there, just pushing it down in the hole, and then I'm going to refine that hole by fluting out the edges. this one, and I'll finish this one up, and then I will start on the other one, which I will not show. I don't think you need to see it twice. Okay, now same as with the bracelet, I'm taking my mica powder and just highlighting the top edges is all I'm doing. So I'm going to do that, and then I will be back and we can get them ready to bake. What I'm doing is using a Q-tip to get the lower edges around the bottom of the pendant where my finger can't reach. Is the only reason I'm using a Q-tip here. I'm about done, and then I will do the earrings and we'll be ready to make the back for the pendant. Now here's where we're using that scrap that I told you not to squish up yet. I'm going to roll a little bit thinner than what I had it for the pendant and the earrings. And not much, just a bit. Flip it to the other side and make sure I get it even. Flip it back over. And I'm going to take the same cutter that I used to make the earrings. I'm going to make my cut for the back of the pendant. I also got this technique from Sculpey also, which I don't think they have on their website anymore either. Just take a smaller cutter and cut out two crescents on each side. And I'm always wonky. I know I am. I admit it. I never get it even. Okay, now I'll just scrape that up and I'll bring back over the hollow bead maker. And the third biggest one, I'm going to put that on there. And I'm just going to push that down real good. Kind of flattening the edges out. Making sure it's good and on there. And I want my edges kind of rounded so that it matches the roundness of the inside of the pendant. Alright, here they are out of the oven. And as you can see, this one got really gnarly looking on the inside. I don't like that look at all. So I'm going to take my under collar here, and I think I have it on a setting 3, maybe a 4. I honestly can't remember. But I'm going to put that on the inside to give it a smoother look. Here I'm using Tato Poly Paste, and I've taken a brush and brushed down the inside of my bead here, and now I'm going to press the clay down into that, making it nice and smooth, just going around it and around it. You can use liquid clay, Sculpey Baking Bond, whatever you have on hand. Alright, and the inner part that we made for the pendant, I'm going to take some poly paste and I'm just going to brush that on the edges. You don't need to be too neat with it. It's not going to matter. It dries clear. Well, bakes clear, excuse me. So just put that on there. Make sure you do the top and the bottom. Just going to try to get that up there towards the edge, but not all the way up. And push it down in there, and then I will rebake this. Oh, and I'm using that Crafters collection. It's to be baked at 230 Fahrenheit. I also used the Sculpey, so I baked mine at 250. Fahrenheit for a half hour on the first bake. And then I will bake these at an hour to make sure that they are good and cured. Right now I'm doing the earrings. I'm filling the hollow part of the earrings so that I can get an earring post in there. So I put my earring post in. I'm going to take a thinner layer of clay. I used a 4. You might want to go even smaller than that, maybe a 6, I would say, because it's still almost not the right size for my ear. You can see down there on the table as I'm falling out of frame here, I've got some beads. I took scrap clay and made some beads out of it to go with my earrings. Now we're going to do the inner part of the cuff, and I'm going to use light beige in the Crafters collection, Advanced, mixed with my lightest color of the Sculpey Souffle, because I was running out of that color, so I wanted to kind of spread it out here. So I mixed it with this light beige, and it worked. But I'm taking here my poly paste and wiping it down the inside of the bracelet, making sure I get it all in there really good. And then I will add my inner piece of my clay here in just a minute. I forgot to turn on my camera as I was putting the clay in here. Sorry about that. But you put your clay in, then you're going to want to cut the edges. Sorry, this is so choppy. I kept falling out of frame, and instead of showing you nothing, I decided just to cut it out. I'm just going around, trimming that excess off, trying to cut as flush with it as I can. As you can see here, kind of just going along the edge real carefully, and I'm doing it at an angle so it's more inward. And then we will push that clay down in there even further. Alright, now that all that excess is cut off, I'm going to take and I'm going to push that line down in there. Just kind of rolling it into it. And then we're going to take and texture it a little bit, just so it don't look so bumpy, because it's all uneven in there because of how the clay was sliding. So now I'll do the other side. Just cut that off there at an angle, just like the other side. Trying not to cut into my clay that's already baked. There we go. Now just continue to push that side in, just like I did with the other side, and then we'll texture. Thing I did forget to do that you'll see me doing in a little bit here up the road after I've baked it is putting in the jump rings at the end of the bracelet for the clasp. You'll want to do that first before baking. So if you're watching it first before you do this tutorial with me, you'll know to do that. I have a sponge for a fish tank filter, and I'm just going to take and press that in there lightly. I don't want it to be too terribly textured, but I want to kind of hide all them bumps and everything that are in there. So I've got my little beads here that I am just rolling up, making sure they're good and round. And I'll pop all this back in the oven at 250 for 1 hour. Here I've got my jump rings, and I've got me a little bit of clay here. I'm going to put on some poly paste at the end so that the clay will stick. And it's easier to put your jump ring on your clay first since it's baked, because it's not going to stay, so put it on your clay first, your wet clay. And I like to put the split into the clay so that it don't come apart. So it's a solid ring. And I'm just going to pick that up with my blade and then with my fingers. And I'm going to try to position this in here as best I can. Sorry you can't see what I'm doing really. So I'm just going to push that down. Try to make sure I get it exactly where I need it. Now I'm going to take my sponge and I'm going to texture that piece as well. And then I will do the same thing on the other side. Okay, now that both sides are done, I'm just making sure they're good and textured before I pop it back in the oven for an hour. Now they're out of the oven, I am using Tiny Pandora SuperMatte Air Dry Sealer because I put that mica powder on there. So I really love this stuff. It goes on really smooth. I haven't seen any issues with it at all, of it bubbling or anything like that. So I really like it. And I'm using my Tiny Pandora brush today, the Goldilocks set. I love the brushes as well. But yeah, the SuperMatte sealer goes on real nice, and it's absolutely perfect for this project. So I'm just going to get the sealer here on all my pieces and let that dry, and then we'll be ready to start drilling and making our jewelry set. And while those are drying, I'm going to go ahead and drill holes in my beads. I am leaving these matte finish just because I think it looks nice. So I'm not going to mess with shining them up. I just want them to be matte in their natural state. I'm going to drill a hole here in the bottom of my earring, trying to line it up with the post because I want to dangle the beads from the earring. So I need to make a hole. Just try to make sure it's going to be big enough. And I don't think I'm going to get a jump ring through here because of how thick it is, but I've got wire to wire wrap if I cannot get a jump ring through, so I'm not worried about it. Okay, I was right, I cannot get a jump ring through there, but I am using my wire. It is 22 gauge wire that I am using. It's tarnish resistant wire. So I'm just going to pinch this together, trying to make sure that it's nice and tight against each side. I'm going to cut off one side here. I'm going to leave a little bit still sticking up so I can wrap it up in the wire. Okay. Try to pinch that back together. And using my round nose pliers, I will make my loop. And then I can start wrapping it. Grab that with my bent nose pliers here. Take my round nose pliers. Grab that cord wire, and start wrapping. And I want to go down as far as I can. Okay, just gonna check and see if they're even. They look good. I'm gonna take and clip that tail off. There we go. And now I'm gonna work on my wire for my first bead. Getting it wrapped to make my loop. Put it through the other loop here on the earring. Take my bent nose pliers again, hold that steady. And I'm going to wrap that wire around a couple times, maybe about 3. And I'll take and clip that tail off. Add my bead. And I'm going to start the loop on that side. I'll grab my bent nose pliers again, hold that loop, They just seem to help hold it more steady. I like the bent nose pliers. I'm going to take the round nose pliers and just wrap that around so I can't go any further, making sure that it's tight against there. And then I'll cut that tail off. Sometimes it can be a little tricky. Sometimes it's easier said than done. There we go. Alright. Just making sure that it's straight. I'm going to take my wire. I folded it over in half, grabbed it with the bent nose pliers, and I just wrapped it a couple of times to make my head pin for the last bead. Now I'll just take and make my loop for that bead. Open it up, put it through the hole, grab the loop with my bent nose pliers, grab my round nose pliers, and just wrap that puppy up as far as it will go. And then I'll clip that tail off and we'll be done with the earring. So on the bracelet, I'm going to be using a toggle clasp today. I just put my piece on there, put it on the bracelet, and then close it up. So there we go. Let's cut that. Now I'll put on the bar. I'm going to put 2 jump rings on the bar end so that I can get it through the whole end. So just put it in there, put my bar on, the second jump ring, and close it up. Make sure it's good and tight. Don't want a gap in there. Tried it on, it doesn't work. I need to put on a smaller jump ring on the end. For the bracelet, so that when I open it to go over my wrist, it doesn't crack or break. So I just sit here and hold it for a little bit. Warming it up good and warm with my heat of my hand. And then I will try it on and see how it goes. Okay, now I'll put it on, sliding it over the skinniest part of my wrist. And we'll see if the toggle clasp will work now. Turn out of frame here a bit. There we go, perfect. And now that'll hold the cup on. That'll help with any heat stretching it out so it won't fall off you. And I will give it a good shake and show you how good it is. So the way I shaped it, it's probably not going to come off, but I didn't want to take any chances. So I will keep it nice and secure. Now for the necklace, today I'm using weld bond on my ends of my necklace to keep it nice and secure. I have stopped using E6000 because I found that when it heats up, the cords pop out. So not good at all. So I suggest using some well-bought. And I got this on Amazon, and I will have it in the description box below. So I take my crimp end and I just kind of twist my cord up into the hole in there, and then wipe off any of the excess glue that has oozed out around it by just rolling it on my finger. Now I'll put the pendant on, and I will do the same thing to the other side. Alright, now to put the clasp and the jump rings on. Okay, I'm closing up the jump ring here, and then I'm just going to make sure that it's good and secure. Make sure it's good and closed. And grab my larger jump ring and put it on the other side. Twist it back closed. And make sure that it's good and secure, nice and closed. There we go. Beautiful. And that's it for this tutorial. If it was helpful to you in any way, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I also have a Facebook group, Trisha's Lovely Creations, and I hope to see you there. Thanks. Have a great day. And don't forget to ring that bell.